Welcome back, everyone, to Hey USA. I'm your host, Nick Garcia, senior writer at Play USA. And with me, as always, I'm joined with my colleague, Brant James, lead writer, Play USA. Brant, how are you doing today?
Doing well today. Thank you very much for asking, Nick.
Yeah. So obviously we got some big stuff to cover in this episode. Brant, how about you give us just a quick 1 minute update in Florida before we dive into the meat of things?
Very good. Go. Well, Friday was a classic Friday afternoon news dump, new to me in the sports betting industry, but about mid-afternoon Friday, we knew we were a day past the 45-day consideration period where the Department of the Interior was going to sign off or not on the Seminole Tribe's gaming compact with the state, which would allow them to offer statewide mobile sports betting. We started to hear from sources that something was going to happen. We thought it was going to be the Department of the Interior deciding not to act, not to say yes, not to say no, which would allow the compact to go into law by deference, legal term, not mine. A few hours later, we got statements from the Department of the Interior, a pretty detailed background of their decision not to make a decision. Probably the most impactful one was the Department of the Interior said that the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act of 1988 is designed on its face to help native tribes make the most of their opportunities with gambling on their tribal lands. But Congress could not have foreseen this new world of internet gaming, and that the tribe shouldn't necessarily be constrained by that, which allowed them to say, well, I think the courts can go ahead and decide whether or not the Seminole Tribe is going to be able to offer statewide sports betting when traditionally the bet is considered to happen where it takes place, which would mean if you're in Miami Beach, you're not on Seminole Tribe, and that doesn't count. So in short, the courts are going to decide this. There is probably a line in front of the line to start filing lawsuits, and pretty sure that's a minute.
Good job. So in short, if we wanted to condense that to a sentence for our listeners, does that mean with this ruling, there is Florida sports betting is legal in Florida?
It is.
Would that be the case?
It is with an asterisk.
Okay.
I would imagine that the guys down at the lab at Hard Rock Digital are just plugging in tubes and tweaking wires. The state and Hard Rock wants to launch by October 15th. Obviously, that's football season. It's a big deal everywhere. Really big deal when you've got the Gators and the Seminoles and the Lombardi Trophy champions. I can't imagine. There's already 2 lawsuits in the pipe, and like I said, they're going to be coming fast and furious because there's a lot of people who feel like they didn't get any piece of the pie whatsoever on this, and it's a big pie to share.
Now, these other people who say they didn't have the piece of the pie, that's your highlight places. That's anywhere that's not on tribal land that can't essentially offer sports betting, correct?
It's a lot of different folks. The pari-mutuels can negotiate what's called marketing agreements with the tribe. Basically, they can acquire skins through Hard Rock, and they could even go acquire a DraftKings or a FanDuel to run it for them, and that's how those operations could get in the state. I didn't memorize the compact completely, but I think the Seminoles still get 60% of that. And it's interesting, the Department of the Interior in their notes said that they didn't necessarily like that, not because they thought it wasn't a great idea on the face of it, but because the tribe wasn't fully benefiting from that, which probably is snicker worthy for the lawyers and the pari-mutuels and DraftKings and FanDuel who are getting shut out, because I would imagine they're thinking, oh, only 60% when you've got a monopoly on sports betting in Florida. That's a tearful situation for you. But the out-of-state vendors, name any sports book that's not Hard Rock Digital, they want to get into Florida. They're going to have issues with this, and they're going to have a squadron of lawyers, the pari-mutuels. There's a lot. And that's not even counting a group in Florida called No Casinos.
Oh, yeah. Heard of those guys.
Whose reason to exist is to keep gambling from expanding in Florida. They will pound on the desk with a shoe telling you that in 2018, statewide referendum was passed by the citizenry saying that there could be no expansion of gambling in Florida without further voter sign off. And they're right, that did pass. And then you've also got the Florida Education Champions, which is underwritten by FanDuel and DraftKings, that want to push for another state referendum to legalize sports betting statewide with non-Seminole interests. It's complicated down here, man.
That's a mouthful. That's a mouthful. So again, just making this short, the tribes are happy. The state is happy. They're going to get their paycheck now, but everyone else is going to be lining up to kind of start these lawsuits, like you said, correct?
Yeah, if it works, if it launches October 15, I'm not saying that the Hard Rock Digital couldn't make it work by then. That's 70, 75 days calendar math again, man.
Which is, yeah.
It's fast. I can't imagine they haven't been doing their homework on this, and not that they're ready to flip the proverbial switch on this right now, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think this has just got so much court work to go before this is settled and Florida starts cashing checks.
Gotcha. A good segue into our next piece of information is, Florida, you said all goes well, lawsuits aside, they want to launch by football season, October. We're hearing Arizona also wants to launch by September. Are you reading anything into that? Do you think that's doable?
That one seems to be cruising along. As we record, 1 month until the first real kickoff of the NFL season on a Thursday, not a coincidence. I believe that Arizona wants to launch then. 3 or 4 days later, the Cardinals will play the Titans. And yeah, it seems like everything is going to be fine there. There's tribal entities there as well. They have deals, with the state to offer sports betting through other vendors statewide. It sounds a question might be, well, isn't that just like what's happening with the Seminoles? And to really keep this simple, no, it's different because those tribes, those 16 of the 24 tribes in the state that offer gambling, don't kill me if I got that off by a couple. They negotiated different deals with the state through the compact, and like in Michigan, also they sort of worked outside of the contract, gave up a little more with money they were going to feed back to the state for the right to offer statewide. So it's different, which makes the Seminole compact so incredibly important if the courts hold that up, because if I'm the Arizona tribes, if I'm tribes in Michigan, if I'm any tribe, I'm calling my my council on retainer and I'm saying, I want that. And I want that right now. So,
other states that we're hearing that are looking to aim to launch to, Maryland's a big one. Maryland passed sports betting. They got all their ducks in a row, upwards of I believe 60 licenses are going to be available there. Yeah, it's going to be a lot, but they too are a state to watch that wants to be up and running by September, by kickoff day. Are there any other on your radar that we're looking at? Maybe South Dakota. I think in Deadwood. I think Deadwood wants to try to be up and running by September.
Yeah, I think Deadwood is a target. That's not going to be a massive market like Maryland would. I don't know what that movie was. As someone from Maryland, I can tell you that the two things Maryland does well: crab cakes, yes; football, no, not really that well. Maybe lacrosse, but Maryland's is a big deal. It's going to complete that sort of that mid-Atlantic pod of DC, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania. It's sort of like a green zone of sports betting there. That's going to be a really interesting market because you've got folks before the Armageddon times that would live in DC and commute to Maryland and all over the place through the many highways and byways. So that's going to be a really interesting area to watch going forward.
Yeah, it is. A few things on my radar. DraftKings made some big moves. Not over the weekend, maybe this morning. They purchased Golden Nugget Online Gaming, which, as we know, is owned by Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Houston Rockets, is correct me if I'm wrong, the number one online gaming platform in New Jersey for that's online casino games. This is a major purchase from DraftKings. I would say almost solidifying them as the top gaming operator in the country from a online standpoint, I would say.
Yeah. These things happen so frequently. I mean, we're just, we're from a bar stool to it's not, buying the score, our pen buying the score. It's every single day. And we keep moving toward our dystopian future of there being 4 companies on the entire planet. There'll be an Amazon and an Apple and
the DraftKings.
Yeah, the DraftKings, unless they get eaten by someone, and who knows. But
The other big move that DraftKings made is they have a partnership with the Chicago Cubs to open a sports book at Wrigley Field. They cleared a giant hurdle in that they got permission from the Commission on Chicago Landmarks, which is a major step in the direction to bringing a sports book to Wrigley Field. They still have to get approval from the City Council, the Illinois Gaming Board, and the National Park Service before they can, start cracking up concrete or anything like that. But it's significant in that it impacts a Chicago casino. There's been reports that, if there's other gaming venues, why would an operator want to build a casino in downtown Chicago? So it's very impactful in that it could influence operators who don't want to compete with Wrigley Field and DraftKings from dishing out the billion-dollar price tag that Chicago is asking for this mega resort, essentially.
Yeah. It seems like no one wants that casino. Didn't Mayor Lightfoot extend the deadline? Should we jump in on this? I think maybe
we could do a little quick hitter on this. So over the weekend, Lightfoot extended the deadline from August 23rd. It was coming up in a few weeks to October 29th. The reasoning behind that, according to a Crain's article, Crain's Chicago Business, it is there was a fear that only one operator was going to apply for that license, which Lightfoot said that she wanted, mega Las Vegas companies, several of them, to apply. And, just rattling off a few things that a Chicago casino would have to contend with: 40% tax rate, $1 billion cost, other sports books popping up, Soldier Field, Guaranteed Rate Field, United Center, Wrigley Field. If I'm a Bears fan and I don't want to have to deal with the lines at the casino, parking, traffic, why don't I just go over to the sports book at Soldier Field, catch a Bears game there? So it begs the question, is it worth it for all these operators to go through the red tape that is Chicago to get this casino license?
Yeah. Back in the Daily days, they had to cut through this red tape.
There are some names. I'm working on a little story of a collection of names that could potentially put their hat in the ring, but we know that some big names like MGM and Wynn said no. They flat out they don't want to deal with the hustle and bustle of Chicago, so they pull their name from contention. There are other sleeper names out there. Caesars is one to watch. They got the deep pockets. Hard Rock as well is one that requested information that could be kind of like you said. Nothing would be better than a giant guitar poking from the Chicago skyline. So that'll be a big thing to watch. Anything else you got on your radar?
Well, you reminded me of something. I'm glad you did. Talking about the sports book in Wrigley Field just today, newsiness. BetMGM entered into a partnership with the Gila Nation River community and the Arizona Cardinals to get market access in Arizona very soon. And by 2022, they plan to put a sports book in State Farm Stadium, which not only houses a lot of Cardinals football games, but a lot of Super Bowls, national championship games. So that's just another step forward into that sports betting tourism destination.
Do you anticipate a sports book at every major stadium in the country one day?
Maybe not the Utah Jazz. They're going to have a big old rethink out there.
Yeah.
I think the mainstreaming of it is huge, and I just don't see it stopping. I really don't. I mean, there's some jurisdictions that are just not going to be where the populace is not going to be as interested. And okay, that's fine. That's their right to determine that. But for those owners, they're going to have to come to terms with the revenue streams that they're leaving out if they don't want to have sports book signage on their bars and their park benches out front. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. But, any last thoughts? Anything else? Did we miss anything?
One thing I'm ready for this week, New Jersey. It's a big deal there. New Jersey, of course, was one of the original thought leaders with sports betting. Ironically or coincidentally, most likely, the Horsemen at Monmouth Park sort of tipped that first domino that led to years of court action that led to the fall of PASPA and sports betting in New Jersey, and therefore in a whole bunch of U.S. states. That state, New Jersey, just last week, Governor Phil Murphy, signed a bill that legalizes fixed odds horse racing. And for the super quick explanation of that, pari-mutuel racing is pretty much confined to the United States now. The rest of the world uses fixed odds. And that means if you bet old paint at 5-1 and old paint wins, well, you can do the math with whatever your bet is, and that's what you're going to win.
Yeah.
With pari-mutuel, you're not betting against the house, you're against everyone else who's in the race. So those odds are changing. Sometimes they're figuring themselves out right up until the race is almost over. So you could get that 5-1, and then you think you're super smart, but it turns out everyone else jumped on that horse, and your odds ended up a lot worse than that. And it kind of turns people off and makes people mad. But in New Jersey, you're going to be able to do fixed odds, and that's going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's pretty impactful. And you're working on a story on this?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, last week I was able to talk to Bill Pascrell the third, otherwise known as BP3. He helped shepherd this through New Jersey. He's also working with legislators in other states like Colorado and Kentucky. They've talked about this. This could, again, like sports betting, start in New Jersey and go elsewhere. Let's just listen real quick to Bill Pascrell talk about what this could mean.
The industry has been downward spiraling for a long time. And that had a little bit of a bump during the pandemic because there was no other content when horse racing could still go on, but you couldn't do, baseball, football, hockey, golf was even suspended. So this is really important listen, we've been doing this across the globe in many, many countries for over a decade, and the U.S. is playing catch-up, but New Jersey's, again, online gaming, exchange wagering, sports betting, and now fixed odds horse racing. New Jersey's the leader.
Well, listeners, you saw it there from BP3, said it first. Be on the lookout for that story from Brant. That's hoping to be posting this week, right?
It absolutely will. And also check out, we've got a lot of Arizona updates coming this week too. Checked right down in there. There's going to be goodness for you to read about Arizona. We know you Arizona folks are watching. Oh, one more thing. You know how I love my power poll.
Yep.
Shaq got a win bet deal this week.
Oh,
So I'm just going to tell you, he rocketed up the pole, and might have torn down the backboard. Might have torn down the backboard. So check
if
the link
anyone-
here also for that power pole.
if anyone's going to tear down the backboard, it's definitely Shaq.
It's gonna be Shaq.
Everyone, thank you for listening. You know the drill. Like, follow, subscribe. If you have any questions for me and Brant, shoot them in the comments, and we'll see you next week.